Karen, what do you think appears?
Well, I think there are pros and cons to every candidate, so we just need to weigh up the pros and cons.
Have you been sent from the future to destroy me? Because it's working. I think that each candidate has merits and demerits, and I don't know my left butt cheek from my right butt cheek, but I believe in listening to both butt cheeks and then farting out my mouth.
Okay.
It's not even bullshit. Bullshit takes talent. You have none. You are just a blah, 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 blah.
Okay, Amy, that is enough.
I have bitten my tongue so long, it looks like a dog's cushion. But no more. You have made it impossible to do this job. You have two settings, no decision and bad decision. I wouldn't let you run a bath without having the Coast Guard and the fire department standing by, but yet here you are running America. You are the worst thing that has happened to this country since food in buckets and maybe slavery. I have had enough. I'm gone.
Well, I guess she's finished with her little... Oh, nope. Look at that. There's more.
You have achieved nothing.
Uh-huh.
Apart from one thing. The fact that you are a woman means we will have no more women presidents because we tried one and she sucked. Goodbye, man.
Beepin', yeah.
Yeah.
A defining moment for one Amy Brookheimer of HBO's hit show Veep. The Emmy-winning political comedy follows President Selina Meyer and her staff as they navigate the challenges of running a country. Well, that's, I guess, one way to describe it. Anna Chlumsky plays one of Meyer's top aides, newly returned, good enough to be with us today.
Thank you.
Although, a moment at least 4 seasons in the making at last season's close. But she's back.
Yeah.
How good was it for Amy, though, to get that off her chest?
I think it was enormously good for her soul and for her life. I've been calling this season the back from rehab season because I think, yeah, the latter half of last season was when she was recuperating from this professional addiction of hers, and now she's trying to dip her toe back in and see if she can stay sane.
You know, you win, you get a job on the other side. You go to you go as a lobbyist. You found that perhaps that was not to your liking. So what was it, do you think, for Amy to then return?
I think that so much of what happens to her is, you know, as much as calculating as she likes to be and as controlling as she likes to be, I think that when it comes to her own life, it's all very accidental. And, you know, I think that, yeah, at the end of last season when she decided to leave in the middle of a news broadcast and go and be with Selena, that was one of those things where it's like, you know, maybe there was an invisible force making her do that without her even realizing why. And you know, with this season, we've just picked up exactly from that moment. And so she still is just trying to play her best hand. And sometimes it's in her favor and sometimes it's not.
Interestingly, I read that Joe Biden's chief of staff actually took a shot at Amy. And, you know, I was thinking about it with perhaps Sue, chief among them, but Amy to me seems, with all due respect to the great characters of the program, one of the only capable employees.
Well, you know, I think that's almost the tragedy of our show is that everybody was hired because they were good at this at one point. You know, even Mike. Like, you know, I love the idea that he, you know, because sometimes you see him in his wheelhouse, kind of joking with the press corps. Like, everyone actually. You know, has a resume.
Has their moments as well, yes.
Right? You know, however, I think that that the unfortunate sickness of the system and the office and unfortunately the principal, which is Selina Meyer, I think you know, just becomes this contagion for everybody, and incompetence ensues.
I don't want to bury the lead, particularly because we can see the lead there growing in your belly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are expecting a second to add to daughter Penelope.
Yes, yes.
I was struck in reading about the arrival of the first and really the name and from whence the name sprung. You know, it was really an interesting thing. Your husband, an Army reservist who was deployed.
Yeah.
in this day and age, not just politically, but for the real impact of the decisions that the politicians make. What was that like for you, being a military girlfriend in your case, but essentially a spouse?
Yeah, and even that has its differences too, because just of the way that it's set up, and if you're a family member, if you're not, that's a whole other shebang. But yeah, it was terribly challenging, but we knew as young people that it was going to be a great test for us, and that we would learn so much about ourselves and learn so much about each other going through it, and that's exactly what ended up happening. And and so now that he's out and he's got his successes in his own company and all these different things, you really do look back on those days so not necessarily fondly, because they were tough, but with great reverence. I'm glad that we went. I'm glad that I'm proud of him. I'm proud of all of our service members who make those decisions, and who serve and put their lives at risk for everybody, and and for the people who love them. Everyone's involved.
And it seems we're now seeing all of your professional and personal rivers run together. With this moment we saw last night, Hillary Clinton becomes the presumptive Democratic nominee, the first woman to head a ticket.
Yay.
The second woman in popular culture, I suppose, to be president should she win office. But what was that moment, and what has been the lead up to it? What's it been like to watch for you?
What's really been interesting is being very pragmatic and intelligent with the idea of where we are as feminists today. There are so many countries that have had great female leaders and maybe not so great female leaders now, which kind of evens the playing field a bit. And I think it's been really almost exposing to see people's reactions to this campaign so far. Even it's been very interesting to see people that maybe would expect themselves to be totally cool with having a female president, and then they start going, saying things like, "Oh, I don't trust her," and you're like, "Really? Is it just that this is different for you, and you're more used to seeing a male suit with a tie as opposed to a female politician in a leadership role?" So it's I think it's a very, very palpable and crackling time to be a female as well, and to be a mother of females.
Yeah, and look, to explain to my two daughters, 7 and 9, one day I hope that this won't be a big deal. It won't be something that I have to point out. What sort of mother do you think Amy would be? I was asked, are they going to write the pregnancy into the show?
It's always been a question every time I get knocked up. It's a question. But yeah, God, Amy, you never know with people surprise you sometimes. But I think we all expect Amy to be an absolutely awful, neglecting mother. But she's also, a real alpha personality. She may get she may be one of those people who, does the non-disposable diapers and just tries to achieve every possible thing she can as a mother, and she would probably be very competitive. She'd probably be that those women that we all loathe seeing when our daughters are misbehaving in public.
Interestingly,
they can be so competitive.
The creative process too of the show is interesting in that, as a topical ensemble show concerning politics with a surreal political cycle that we've seen here, you don't need to draw on it. You don't tear things from the headlines necessarily.
No,
Has it made you look at what's happening in the real world
Oh, it certainly does. I mean, it's always worth it to be informed, I think, especially when you're in a satire and you know, our writers and creators are creating a satire about politics. I think you have to stay informed always. But yeah, everything's in. You know, and it's not just what happens to our system today. It's what has ever happened.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as humans exist, they're going to do ridiculous things to be in power, and that's kind of what we like to take the lid off of.
What I like too, there's a physicality to the ensemble. It's not just a bunch of people necessarily sitting around in a room. It's you're often moving through hallways, and everybody's always there. It's an ensemble that except with Jonah's, however ill-fated campaign right now, a lot of you guys all are occupying the same space, and there have been so many questions when we knew you were going to join us about the creative process. Can you take it through it? Because to your credit, I think as performers, it feels so often off the cuff.
Oh,
and so but I don't want to short shrift the writers who are like, well, wait a second.
Exactly right,
hang on.
yeah.
So how does an episode make air?
It's, you know, especially in the first 4 seasons, because, you know, now our 5th season we have different producers and writers, so they have their own process too, and we're still all kind of you know, figuring that out. But the tradition of Veep so far has been, we get into the room, we read a few episodes. Sometimes it's just one episode we'll read, and then we get on our feet and I call them workshops. You know, sometimes you know, it's our rehearsal period, but it's really for workshopping. You know, we're not like blocking the scenes necessarily or anything. It's really more for the writing, and all the writers are present, taking notes, and we just play. We play the scenes out. Sometimes not even for laughs. Sometimes just to see what the characters would do, how they'd react. And anything that seems worth keeping usually ends up in our next drafts.
Will there be, at the end of run, will there be a great, can we see all the times you guys broke? I mean, are you looking, you know, it's interesting, HBO has given us a window in. They will play now the different takes on scenes, to your point.
Yeah,
like oh, this could have been the joke. This could have been the payoff.
Right.
And God, every time I'm watching, like, is Amy gonna break? Does Anna break there? Does she break there?
I have a really nice advantage where I have very swingy hairstyle. So so a lot of the time, if somebody, usually it's Matt who plays Mike, or Jonah and Richard, played by Tim and Sam. You know, I'll just swing the hair in front of my face until I can get my commitment to my scene back, and then I'll.
It's understandable. It completely is. It's a remarkable thing to see a topical ensemble show still going strong as it was from the pilot. Do you let yourself at this point enjoy the success? Do you let yourself look back on what you've done and what you're going to do and think, hey, we really had something here?
It does feel terribly special, because you know how many television shows are made and how many talented people are making them, and for us to have this good of a time making it, and then to have an audience that seems to widen with each season, you know, also enjoying it. I mean, that really is the juice. That's really the thing that we all hope for, and so and we know that it doesn't come along every day, and that is magic. So so we definitely, you know, I think especially on our off seasons when we're not like in it, I think that we get a chance to enjoy that.
It is as wonderful as food in buckets is not. Anna Chlumsky,
sometimes it's delicious. You're talking to a pregnant woman.
Thank you. And best of luck.
Thanks so much.
We sit on the edge of our collective seat.